This video lecture will replace the lecture on week 9, which is regarding the topic of motivation and emotion. So basically, you are required to watch the entire video lecture and complete the 2 tasks that I asked in the video and submit your work by next Wednesday in your lecture class. So please submit hard copy. In this lecture, you will need to accomplish a few learning outcomes. So it covers 3 domains. One is motivation, another one is eating, which is more on the obesity. The third one will be on emotions. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to distinguish between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So try to think what are the examples for both of these motivations, and you will be able to explain the characteristic of 3 types of needs. So it is not only your physical needs, it could be regarding your psychological needs. And then you will be able to describe how Maslow hierarchy of needs and self-determination theories explain about motivation. For the eating or hunger, we need to recognize some of the factors that could contribute to obesity. And for the last part, which is regarding the emotion, you will be able to describe the 3 elements of emotions as well as distinguish among the 4 theories of emotion. So the last part regarding the theory of emotions, I have assigned the video task on Pearson platform. Please watch the video and complete the quiz. First of all, what is motivation? So motivations can be defined as the process by which the activity are started, directed, and continue so that the physical or psychological needs or wants are met. So you need to remember there are 3 motions here. One is started, another one is directed, and last one will be continue. So you will have certain target or certain goal that you want to meet, and this goal is related to the physical or psychological needs or wants that you are looking for. So before you achieve it, you must start to move, start to have certain actions. And if you can't continue to persist such actions, for example, you have certain difficulty or certain challenges and you stop over there, so this needs or the want cannot be met. So motivation in Latin word, it is actually meaning to move. So there are 2 types of motivation. One is intrinsic, another one is extrinsic. So intrinsic basically is more on your own self. No other external reward can let you continue to move on. This intrinsic motivation, basically you will continue to perform that task because you find that the task is fun, it is challenging, and you want to continue. Another type of motivation is extrinsic motivation, which is more rely on the external reward. This reward can be something tangible, can be iPhone, or it can be just simple praising from other people. So try to think which type of motivations can actually make people to move on for a longer term, and which one it might stop if, let's say, you remove the motivations. There are several theories or several approaches trying to explain or describe why humans and animals will have motivations that it will lead to the subsequent behavior. So the first approach that we have here is instinct and evolutionary approach. So basically it is talking about how people and animals need to survive. It will cause us to perform certain activity. For examples, for animals, they do have the instinct to perform certain activities such as building their nest, protecting their own family, such as their offspring, so that they can continue their generation. Whereas for human, William McDougall actually proposed that we have 18 instincts. So it includes curiosity, flight, aggressiveness, as well as gathering possessions. So this instinct will cause us to have certain behaviors such as fighting with people, as well as looking for more new information. So that is more on describing about our behavior, but it hardly explains why people will have the motivations to perform it. Another approach or another theory that trying to understand about motivation is drive reduction theory. So it focuses more on the concept of needs and drive. So what is need? Needs is actually the requirement of some of the material. It can be food, it can be water, it can be house or whatever thing that is essential for the survival. So when we have certain needs, it will lead us to have certain psychological tension. And this psychological tension will cause us to have some physical arousal or the physiological arousal. And this tension is what we call drive. So after we have the drive, it will cause us to have another step, which is the drive reducing behavior. So for example, our need is food. It will cause us to have hunger, which is the drive. And this hunger will cause us to go and look for food and eat it. So this eating can actually reduce the hunger, which is the drive. So in our body, we do have this system which we are trying to maintain the balance of our body, which is what we call homeostasis. So if let's say you are hungry, you have certain drive that you need to achieve, that you need to fulfill. Our body is in a state of imbalance, and our body will have certain stimulations which cause us to bring back into balance, which is eating. So this drive can be categorized into two types, which is primary and secondary. Primary mainly is about the survival needs of body, which is you need to eat, you feel hunger, is because you want to survive. Another type of drive is the secondary drive, which we learn it through the experience, such as social approval, social acceptance, and liked by other people. But this theory can't really explain all human motivations. For example, why some people can sleep even though they are not really feeling sleepy, and why people will eat even though they are feeling full. Why do people perform some behavior is to increase the tension. For example, they go for bungee jump, they go for roller coaster, and all this behavior. It will actually cause us to have more tension. So, in short, this drive reduction theory actually explain about how internal physiological state will cause us to have certain outward behavior. Just now we have explained more on the physical needs. Now we move on to the psychological needs. So McLaren theory explained that we do have three types of psychological needs. The first one is the need for affiliation, which is we want to have friendly social interactions and relationship with others. So people who are high in this need, they want to get more people who like them, and they want to be held in high regards by other people. So normally they are a good team player, whereas for the second type of need is the need for power. So they want to have control over other people. People who are high in this need, they want to influence others, even though maybe their ideal or their opinion is not that useful, is not that practical, but they still want other people to follow their instruction. So people who are high in this need for power, sometimes they see the money as achievement. So you can see some of the people, even though they are not really rich, they will wear expensive clothes, they will live in all the expensive houses, use all the jewelry, use all the branded bag to show that they are in power. The last need is the need for achievement. So this is referred to the strong desire to succeed in attaining goal. So this goal may not be really just practical, it can be because it is challenging. So people who are high in this need for achievement, they tend to look for job or any activity which people can evaluate them. So they can receive the feedback from the other people. Carol Dweck's self-theory of motivation, it links both the motivations, the need for achievement, with the personality of human. So this personality refers to how people view themselves. It will influence the perception of success or failure. So in this theory, it proposed that we do have two kinds of mindset. One is growth mindset, which you believe that if you continue to work harder, you can achieve better, you can improve for the next round. Whereas for fixed mindset, people believe that they can't do anything because this is their limit, so they will just continue to stay on it. And growth mindset relate to the internal locus of control, which they believe that they have they are the person in control for their achievement. So if they work harder, they can achieve well. If they don't work harder, they can't. So basically, how these people who has the internal locus of control will have the motivation is that they believe they are in control, so they will continue to try for new strategy, participate in new activity. Whereas for those people with the fixed mindset, they are more towards the external locus of control. They believe that everything, their success or failure, is regarding is rely on other people, is rely on the external environment, or it is rely on the luck they have. So they can't do anything to change their life. So what will happen to them is they will have learned helplessness and they will stop trying. In arousal theory, it actually says that people, if we have an optimal level or ideal level of tension, it is actually good for us because it can motivate us to work on the task. So for example, if let's say the task is too easy, the level of arousal will be too low, so it can cause some boredom and it make people feel lazy and don't really want to work on it. But if let's say this task is too difficult and it causes a high level of arousal, so it may also affect the performance of people in this task because of the anxiety feeling. So, what would be the best and the ideal arousal? Is it all the tasks it must be average, or it is depends on the task? So basically it is depends on the difficulty of this task. If let's say this task is rather simple, it is quite easy. So it needs certain high to moderate level of arousal so that it can achieve or it can bring out an optimal performance. Whereas if let's say this task is super duper difficult, it requires a low to moderate level so that it can make people perform better. So our arousal level is actually different individual to individuals. So for example, some of your friends maybe they are the sensation seeker. they tend to look for high arousal. If let's say it is only moderate arousal, they will feel boring, they don't really want to work, they don't really find the meaning of doing it. So those are the sensation seeker. So how these individual differences in arousal could happen? The first one is our past experience. It might actually affect how daring we are, how willing we are to take the challenges. Other than that, it could be because of the people around us. Because if let's say everyone would tease you, you might actually feel fear to take the risk. But if let's say everyone, they are very encouraging, they are very supportive, it can actually push us to take a higher risk, to take a higher challenge task. The next approach that talk about motivation or to explain about motivation, I believe that this hierarchy is quite familiar, especially in the future it will comes to you from time to time. This is Maslow hierarchy of needs. So it actually tells us that our needs in life, it can be ranked in hierarchy. So the bottom will be the more basic needs which we need to fulfill it in order to survive. For example, the physiological needs. So it includes like food, water, air, and sex because it can actually continue our life. After you fulfill the most basic physiological need, you can go for a higher level, which is the safety need. So if let's say you are people who are come from war zone, every day you need to worry whether you can survive for today or not. Do you think that you can go further, which is go and find another partner, your romantic partner, and go and find out your full potential? So the most highest need of people is self-actualization, but not everyone can achieve it. Some people can achieve it for a certain period. So it can't really tell you like in the Piaget theory, it will tell you from what age to what age you will achieve certain tasks. No, for this one, it is not limited by the age. So for self-actualization, it is actually when the people already fulfill their full human potential. They can be whoever they want to be. So after Maslow proposed this hierarchy, another higher level than the self-actualization that he proposed is transcendence need, which we need to find the spiritual meaning beyond one immediate self. But there are some individual and cultural differences. Some people say that no, is it means that because based on this hierarchy, it tells us that if we don't eat, if we feel hungry, we can't achieve for higher needs. But for those some people like artists or all these things, they can perform well even though they're starving. Other than that, the cultural differences could be one of the things that we need to consider because certain needs are valued more important in a particular culture compared to the another culture. So the first task for this lecture is try to find out each of these level of needs and relate it to yourself. Find some example of yourself and relate to each of these needs. And the next theory that talk about our psychological needs is self-determination theory, or known as SDT. So it actually mentions that we have three inborn and universal needs that help us to achieve or gain a complete sense of self and build a healthy relationship with other people. So the first need is autonomy, which people will have the need to control the course of their life. If let's say for your everyday living, you can't decide what you want to eat, you can't decide what you want to wear, You can't decide what you want to do for the whole life. Do you feel satisfied? Another type of need is competence, which is the need to be effective in mastering certain challenging tasks. Third one will be relatedness, which is you want to feel a sense of belonging, you want to form intimacy with other people, as well as having the security in relationship. If let's say every day you need to worry that whether your family members will leave you, will betray you, you need to worry that your friends whether they will betray you, they will harm you, it actually can't help you to grow in a healthy way. So if let's say these three, if we want to fulfill these three basic needs, a supportive environment will be useful because it will encourage us to develop goals as well as the relationship with other people. So if let's say all these needs are satisfied, are achieved, it can lead us to have a healthy psychological growth as well as enhance our intrinsic motivations. So now let's talk about hunger, which is one of the physical needs that we mentioned earlier. Why people will actually feel hungry on certain time. So the first explanation is from the hormonal influence. The first type of hormone that will influence our hunger is insulin. So this insulin, when it released, it will reduce the level of glucose so that we will feel hungry. So sometimes when you eat a lot of carbohydrate, it will actually cause the insulin level to spike, and that is the moment that you will feel hungry easily, which is why people, if they are on diet, they don't really take carbohydrate because it will cause you to feel hungry very fast. Another type of hormone that influences us is glucagon. So it is just like your glucose, it will increase the level of glucose so that you won't feel hungry. The third type of hormone is leptin. So this leptin, it would release and give signal to your hypothalamus telling you that the body already have enough food, so you can reduce the appetite and you will feel full, so you won't continue to eat. So another explanations about hunger is from our brain part. So basically it relates to the hypothalamus. The first part of this hypothalamus is ventromedial hypothalamus. It will stop the eating response when the glucose level go up. So if let's say they actually try to experiment it, is that the rats where their VMH area is damaged, the rats will continue to eat until they are overweight. So it means that this VMH can't control or can't stop the eating response, even though the rat is full. So they will continue to eat. The second part of hypothalamus is lateral hypothalamus. So it helps us to stop eating to the point of starving. So if let's say the rats having impairment for this LH, they will stop eating. They won't eat even though they are hungry. So they will only eat if let's say someone force feed them. So other than the physiological aspect, some of the social, or we can say it as psychological component, is the first one, the social cue. Sometimes or quite often, Asians tend to link eating with celebration. So whenever we think about we want to celebrate for certain achievement, we will link it to eat. Other than that, when someone is under high stress or having negative emotions, they might eat or go and get food to comfort their own emotion, because eating is one of the actions or one of the behavior that can help people to avoid from the stress and negative emotion. Let's talk about obesity. But before that, let's understand what is obesity. So, obesity is one type of the eating problem that people will have. Other than obesity, people will have some other eating problems such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating, and some other eating disorder. So, what is obesity? How can we determine that whether these people is only overweight or they are obese? So, obesity based on DSM-5, the definitions is when these people are having 20 to 30% above the ideal body weight. So it is according to their height. So whether their BMI is more than it or it is less than. So some other factors that will influence or will cause people to have obesity. The first one is genetic. So quite frequent you can see that if let's say their father and mother are obese, their child most likely are obese too. So it could be because of genetic. At the same time, it can be because of the lifestyle that they are sharing. Because the food they eat, the exercise level, and whatsoever thing is actually similar. Other than that, from a more physiological perspective, will be our hormone, which is leptin. Because as just now we know, leptin is something that it will release to control our appetite. So we won't eat if let's say leptin tell hypothalamus that we are full, so we won't eat it anymore. But if let's say we have impairment for this leptin, it can't release as usual. So we will still continue to eat even though we are full. The next one is the eating pattern. So those scientists actually found that people who are having obesity, they tend to have overeating, which for example they can eat 10 bowl of rice within 20 minutes. They can eat 20 pizza within half an hour. That is overeating. And that dining outside could be one of the factor that influences because past study found that if let's say in the city which they can get access to fast food restaurant more frequent, there are more obesity over that compared to a rural area which they hardly get access to all this kind of food. Next thing is the level or the frequency of exercise. Maybe most likely their exercise will be sitting in front of the TV and playing their phone rather than going out to walk, to run, to swim. The last factor that can cause people to have obesity is the stress. Because when you are stressed, you tend to eat more. But of course, there are some rare cases where they are stressed, they can't really eat. So in emotions, it is actually similar, having some overlap with the motive. So emotions can be defined or can be referred to the feeling aspect of consciousness. So it consists of three elements. The first one is physiology, which is some of your body physiological changes, the physical arousal. Second is the behavior, which this behavior help us to review or to express our feeling to the outside world. The third one will be how we interpret the emotion, which is the inner awareness of our feeling. In the past, scientists was trying to learn and trying to understand the physiological reactions of people when they are in different emotions. So they will check the blood pressure, they will check the heart rate, the breathing of human, and determine that how people will react or the body will change according to the emotion. And they found that different emotions is related to different physiological reactions. So in nervous system, we mentioned two types. One is sympathetic, another one is parasympathetic. So when you are high in arousal, you are more likely to activate the sympathetic nervous system. For example, when you are feeling angry, your heartbeat will go faster, your breathing will go more rapid, and your blood pressure will go higher. At the same time, your pupil will dilate as and your mouth will start to feel dry because your salivations will inhibit. But people actually found that the physical or the physiological reactions for anger and fear is actually similar. So other than that, they are trying to understand which part of the brain part is actually determined or influenced by the emotions. So they found that the activations, the brain activity for left frontal lobe will increase when these people is experiencing some pleasant emotion, whereas in contrast, when they're experiencing unpleasant emotions, the right frontal lobe will be more active. And they found that those people who train in meditation, which means that they practice these meditations regularly, it found that their left frontal lobe is more active because it shows that they have calmness and they are more pleasant emotions. And when they ask the participants to identify emotions, regardless reading human facial expressions or from pictures, it found that the right hemisphere is more active. Besides the physiological arousal that relates to emotions, we do have behaviors of emotion. It means that we will express the way that we express. So this expression may not limit to your facial expression. It can be your movement as well as your standing position, your sitting posture. All these are actually part of the expression. So past study found that there are 7 universal basic emotion, which means regardless you're American, African, Malaysian, you will express the same. For example, when you're joy, when you're feeling happy, you will laugh. Okay, so Charles Darwin mentioned that the emotions were a product of evolution, which means that we express our emotions for a certain survival meaning. If we are angry, we show that facial expression so that the other people know that they should act submissively or they should expect that there is a fight coming soon. So it will help us to survive in this environment. So, but why currently, even though Japanese they are happy compared to American they're happy, it seems like their ways of expressing is different. So this is actually influenced by the display rules. So it teaches us how to control the display of emotion in the social setting, which means for us, for the collectivism, we know that if let's say you yourself is very happy, but your friends are very sad because of certain reason, but you show a joyful face, it will influence the harmony of this group. Hence, we will try to control it, we will try to inhibit that happy expression. So other than that, the display rules also can be found in guys and female. So in the male and female, we know that male are actually bound by these display rules. So they are not encouraged to express their emotions openly, whereas female, we encourage them to express their emotion regardless is positive or negative openly. So they are free to share their emotions. So the last and the third element of emotion is subjective experience, which is the way we interpret our emotions and we give them a label. This is fear, this is anger, this is happiness. So this kind of interpretation, it may be influenced by our memory of previous similar experience. Other than that, we will take the context and the environment into the considerations, then only we perceive it. So this kind of interpretation, it will also influenced by our cultural value. For instance, for those people who are from the collectivism, we tend to interpret our positive emotion state as friendly and socially engaged feeling. So when you are with your family member or when you are with your close friend, you tend to tell people or you tend to label these emotions as positive. Whereas for people from the individualistic, they tend to label the positive emotional state as something that is socially disengaged. For example, their own pride, their own achievement. So these are the three elements of emotions. Whereas for the theories of emotion, I have assigned the video in Pearson. So please go and watch it and complete the quiz. So please submit these two tasks by next Monday. Thank you for your time.